Are we rolling? Is this thing on? Yeah, I think it is. In this video, I'm gonna count down the top 10 mistakes photographers make when they second shoot at weddings. You ready? Let's count them down. What's good, guys? This is Vahography. I'm Vahagan, your rock and roll photographer. I'm gonna count down the top 10 photographer mistakes, second photographer mistakes. These mistakes, I'm guilty of these when I just started second shooting decades ago. Okay, so here we go. Number 10, not having backups, not bringing backups with you. Bodies, lenses. You're a second shooter, you might be thinking, if something happens to my 24 to 70, I have the main guy. He'll let me borrow his or hers. No, guys, that's a big mistake. Bring your backups, bring your bodies. What if your camera fails? Never rely on the main guy to supply you with cameras and lenses. If you're scheduled to shoot and in your agreement, you're supposed to use your own gear. Some companies, you use their gear, but most of the time you use your cameras and lenses. Never rely on the main guy to supply you if your stuff goes down. If your camera fails, always bring a backup. Don't be lazy, guys. Never rely on the photographer's gear. You never know when he's going to need it. What I do is, if I'm not using a 1635 or a fisheye, sure, I'll let my second shooter use it. Don't go out and gig with the mindset of, if something happens to my camera, we always have the main photographer's gear. Never do that, guys. So that's 10. Mistake number 9. This might sound silly to some of you guys. However, don't drink alcohol when you're second shooting. If you're like me, if I'm drinking alcohol, I really need to drink and to feel good. So what that means is, if I'm at a gig, one or two, shots won't do anything for me. So I, might as well just stay away from having any alcohol. You don't want any substance to impair you from doing your job. You know what I mean? It might feel good. You might, guys are toasting. Hey, photographer, come on over. Let's have a shot. Let's have a second shot. Put the camera down. You'll work later. No. Mistake. That's a big mistake. Early on, I was a party guy and I had a few too much to drink at one gig. I was a young guy and, it showed in the images, guys. So try to stay away from alcohol. Number 8, never start your gig hungry. A lot of guys, when they second shoot, they rely on food being at a wedding early on. There's no food early on, guys. The hours can be long. So always, wake up, start your day, give yourself enough time to prepare, not only clothes and cameras and stuff like that, but eat something before you head out. Eat something, have a nice, hearty breakfast, feel full. What I do is I eat until, if I'm not going to have anything else to eat till the reception, I'm fine. Because, what I do is I have a big breakfast and I'll get me through the day up until, the evening time. So big mistake, guys. Never, start your gig hungry. That affects your performance, guys. Your second shooting, you don't want to feel grumpy. You don't want to, have bad attitude. When I'm hungry, I'm pissed off at the world, guys. So always have a big breakfast before you start. Number 7, and this is important, guys, not getting enough sleep prior to your second shooting wedding. A lot of guys, they're up all night editing, stuff like that, and I ask them, what time did you get to bed? You seem kind of tired. I didn't sleep till 4 in the morning. And they're scheduled to start at 10 a.m., guys. That's just totally unprofessional. I understand if you're working the day before, that's fine. That's a good excuse, but if you're not doing anything the night before, don't go out partying. Don't come home at 3 a.m. I might sound like a parent here, but facts of life is, if you don't get enough sleep and you're scheduled to second shoot at a wedding, if it's my wedding, I'm going to get on your butt, I see you're not performing well. I have to call on you 2 or 3 times. You're just zoning out. You're not in your game as a second photographer. I'm not paying you to be this way. Get enough sleep, guys. If you're not doing anything the night before, make sure you get rest. Don't show up to your second photographer gig tired, groggy, with a bad attitude. Get enough sleep. Number 6, Big mistake, preparing last second. Getting your clothes ready, your gear, batteries, charged up and ready. All that stuff is very important. It's a big mistake to leave it last second, guys. You leave all that stuff last second, you're rushing to get out the door, and you're not even considering traffic. Always give yourself a window of 30 to 45 minutes because of traffic. Always give that space. Let's say you're scheduled to be there at 11 a.m. It's a 30-minute drive. Leave 30 or 45 minutes early. You never know what's going to happen. Always leave that room for traffic. Never be late to a gig, guys. Nobody likes a late photographer, especially if I'm the main guy and, you're the second photographer. You're shooting for me. This is a big mistake. The groom calls me while I'm at the bride's house and they go, "Hey, where's the photographer?" That's just a bad look, guys. That's just an extra stress that we don't need that day. There's a lot of stuff going on. I don't want to be sitting there worried about where my second photographer is. Of course, if an accident happens, that's totally excusable. Just be careful, guys. Don't rush. If you're late, if you're going to a gig kind of late, still drive normal. Don't rush. Don't speed. You get there late, but get there safe, guys. So always give yourself time to prepare. Pack the night before. Don't do anything last second so you don't, speed or, forget stuff. You might forget stuff. So big mistake, guys. Never do that. And give yourself enough time. Prepare the night before to get to your gig. All right, guys, we're getting into the meat of things. These 5 mistakes, very crucial. Okay, guys? Number 5, overshooting. Okay, guys, never overshoot. As a second shooter, this happens a lot. And even if after I've told the second shooters, you don't need to overshoot. We're not videographers. Okay, guys? It's just a tendency. We want to get the shot in focus. After a while, once you get used to things, you're pretty confident at your shots, so you don't really need to overshoot, guys. Very important. Don't overshoot. No one needs to sit there and edit 25 shots of the same pose. You get your 2 or 3 shots, move on to the next scene, the next pose. Don't overshoot. Remember, we're not videographers. Okay, we're photographers. Capture award-winning money shots. Shots that the editor will keep, shots that the bride and groom will use. Not just walking and grabbing something. Don't overshoot, guys. Don't overshoot. Number 4, and this is piggybacking off the previous mistake. The mistake of shooting the same thing as the main guy is shooting. You're the second photographer. You're shooting the exact same thing, almost the same exact angle with the same exact lens or close to it. Guys, the whole point of second shooting is to capture different angles, different lenses, different focal lengths, guys. Always pay attention to what the main guy's doing and, try to capture something different, guys. We don't need the same shot. You don't need to show us that you're working hard by taking the same picture, guys. Take a different angle, grab a different lens. You see that the main guy is using a 24-70, maybe grab this 70-200. Grab the 70-200, do something different. He's doing wide shots, do the close shots. Do the close angle shots. We don't need the same thing. You know what I mean? So always be mindful of that. Don't make the mistake of shooting the same thing. We don't need duplicates of the same shot. That's just my opinion, and that's just very important. We're going to eventually delete those shots. So don't make the mistake of shooting the same stuff. Number 3, and this one, it makes me upset when this happens, okay? Don't wait for the boss, the photographer, the main guy that you're shooting for to tell you what to do. Okay, guys? Quick little story, guys. I'll never forget this. I told my second shooter, this is years back, do a certain thing at the reception. And, I'm like at a location where I can't really reach him. It's hard for me to communicate with the guy, but he's just doing this for like 30 minutes to an hour, and I can't get over to him to tell him to, do something different. So, and then later on I go, "Hey, why are you just shooting this?" Or you told me to do that. Guys, improvise. In music, they call it improvising. Use your head, use your mind, and use your best judgment on this, guys. Don't shoot, don't wait for the photographers, your boss, to tell you what lens to use. I might say, you know what, grab the 7200 right now. We need this shot real quick. Oh, you didn't tell me to change the lens, or you didn't tell me to get this shot. Treat this gig like it's your own, guys. Treat it like it's your own. If it's your own gig, you might do something different. You might go out of your way, maybe. So, treat the gig like it's your own. Don't always wait for the boss, the photographer, the main guy to tell you what to do. Improvise, guys. Improvise. Do something. Go out of your way. Do something different. We might see a shot. Wow. Good thinking, guys. Put your hard hat on and go out there and kick some butt, guys. Big mistake to always wait for the photographer to tell you, to give you command. Use your head. Treat it like it's your own gig. Trust me, you'll impress your boss, more if you took the initiative sometimes. Don't always wait for us to tell you what the next move is. Maybe come out with the move of your own. Hey, why'd you get this? Why'd you get that? I'll appreciate the second photographer to actually give me ideas at the gig. Oh, good thinking. You know what I mean? Good thinking. So don't go show up there like a zombie and just like wait for commands. You know what I mean? Wait for us to tell you what to do. As a photographer, once you get good at this stuff, you'll start doing your own stuff. You'll start taking initiative. So big mistake, guys. Always waiting for the main guy to give you command and tell you what lens to use, what angle to shoot at. It gets annoying, guys. All right, guys, are you ready for the top 2 mistakes? The top 2 mistakes that really get to me sometimes. Number 2, not interacting enough with the clients just because it's not your gig, This is very important. It's a big mistake, guys. You always want to feel involved at the wedding, at a gig. If you're a second shooter, sometimes you're not interacting. You're just, shooting things on the side, and you're telling the main guy to tell them how to pose and stuff like that. And this mistake, sometimes we get really comfortable and we don't interact enough with the client just because it's not our own gig. So a lot of times second shooters make this mistake by nonchalantly shooting and not, if you need to change the pose, go ahead and tell the client to do it. Don't tell the main guy to do it. You do it. You'd fix the dress. Just because you're a second shooter doesn't mean you don't do all that stuff that you're supposed to do. If you want to take the groom out and do some portraits of the groom, tell the groom yourself. Don't tell your main guy to tell him to go do this and go do that. Oh, I'm just a second shooter. Trust me, guys, you'll impress the main guy more if you take initiative and you treat the gig like it's your own. So don't be lazy as second shooters. That's a mistake on your part. Treat it like it's your own gig and interact with the client. All right, you guys ready for number 1? And this is the most important. The biggest mistake second photographers make when second shooting is not getting the settings close enough as possible. Now, I know you're shooting raw, guys. I understand that. And a big mistake is relying on your, the editor or whoever's editing these raw files to, correct it in post. Why? Get it as close, as you can as possible when you're shooting, guys. I'm talking about white balance. I'm talking about composition. Very important. Composition. Don't rely on the editor to adjust the crops. That takes a long time. You'll save so much time and effort for whoever's going to edit these photographs, that you just work a little extra hard when you're shooting and just, get it as close to good as possible when you're shooting the image. I'm talking about exposure, white balance, composition, your flash settings, all that stuff. When I shoot anything, when I'm shooting anything, weddings, portraits, whatever, I try to get it as close to, as I like in camera. Why not? That gives you more leeway to edit the photo. So the biggest mistake second photographers make is relying on the editor to, fix what you could have fixed in camera. So yeah, guys, you'll just piss off whoever's editing these these images. I know you're shooting raw. I know you're probably thinking, you know what, let the editor fix it. But like I said, who wants to sit there and crop, adjust, thousands of shots, guys? Please get it right in camera, your composition, slow down, take time. Take your time doing this. You don't need to rush. You set your feet, look at the lines in the camera, in the viewfinder, get your exposure right. Your white balance is key. Get the white balance right. There's no rush. Get the white balance right. Your editor will love you for it. Even if you're main shooting your stuff, your own stuff, get your settings right in camera, guys. Very important. The biggest mistake a second photographer makes is that one right there. All right, guys, that's my list of the top 10 mistakes second photographers make when they're shooting. Let me comment down below. Let me know if you're guilty of some of these mistakes yourself. And what do you think of the list? And if there's some mistakes that you think are important that I left out on this list. All right, guys, well, if you like content like this and you want more, all things photography business tips, camera lens reviews, you name it, like and subscribe to my channel, Vahography, and hit the bell icon to be notified when I upload new content, guys. Thank you for watching, guys. This is Vahography. I'm Vahagan, your rock and roll photographer. And we'll see you on the next video. Rock and roll while you're second shooting.